After a dominating victory over number 12 Ole Miss this past weekend, the number 1 ranked Crimson Tide have another big SEC West matchup this weekend, but this time it's on the road in College Station as Alabama travels to take on Texas A&M at Kyle Field. It will be only the 14th matchup between the two schools, with Alabama holding an 11-2 advantage all time, including last season's 52-24 win in Tuscaloosa. To preview this weekend's matchup, I'm joined once again by former NFL and Crimson Tide quarterback John Parker Wilson. JP, what a dominating performance this past weekend for the Crimson Tide over Lane Kiffin and that high-powered Ole Miss offense.
No question about it. I thought it was a great game all around for Alabama offense, defense, special teams. I mean, obviously the defense came up big and a very complicated, sophisticated Lane Kiffin offense. I think they played really well all day long, stopping Ole Miss early in the game down there in our own red zone territory and able to just continue it on. I thought Bryce played really well, but none better than Brian Robinson. Career day for him, rushing the ball, the guys up front of the offensive line, really just set the tone early, and we're able to continue that all afternoon long.
Well, this weekend, Alabama takes on Texas A&M. Going into the season, most experts reporting to this matchup as being the one that could give Alabama the most trouble. The Aggies were ranked 6th to start the season and were ranked as high as 5th. But after a close win at Colorado and consecutive losses to Arkansas and Mississippi State, the Aggies are 3-2 and have dropped out of the top 25. What has happened to Texas A&M?
Yeah, it's been a tough year for Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. 2 losses in a row. I don't think Jimbo's ever lost 3 consecutive conference games. So this is a big game for them. And be it on the road, we're going to a very hostile environment. I mean, Texas A&M is a very fun place to play when you're on the road. I think they've had some struggles. They've got some young guys, especially on offense. A lot of returning starters on defense, but inexperience on offense, especially up front on the offensive line. Running game's really good, though, so you got to expect A&M to bounce back.
On offense, the Aggies' most consistent player has been running back Isaiah Spiller. Spiller ranks 5th in the SEC, averaging over 90 yards per game and over 6 yards per carry. Despite Spiller's performance, Texas A&M ranks near the bottom in most offensive categories. After the way Alabama handled Ole Miss, do you see the Tide matching up pretty well against this Texas A&M offense?
Yeah, I think Alabama's defense has to just continue what they've been able to do in the past 2 games. I think looked really efficient, executed really well against Southern Miss, able to continue that against a high-powered offense at Ole Miss. And I think this week you got to be ready for the run and Spiller, but also tight end Jalen Wydermyer. We've seen him in the past. He's a very dynamic tight end. Hasn't been involved that much in this Texas A&M offense. But you know what? Florida's tight ends had no catches coming into that game that we played them, and they ended up leading all receivers that game. So I would expect to see a lot of Spiller and a lot of the tight end.
Well, John Parker, after scoring 42 and holding Ole Miss to just 21 points, the Crimson Tide now lead the SEC in scoring offense at over 45 points per game. However, the Tide will be facing a pretty good Texas A&M defense. The Aggies ranked 2nd in the SEC in scoring defense, allowing less than 2 touchdowns per game at 12.6 points. How do you see the Crimson Tide offense matching up against this Aggies defense?
I think our offense is continuing to evolve, continuing to mature. I think Bryce is playing really well. I think him and Bill O'Brien are in really good sync right now. So we saw A&M give up over 200 yards rushing against Arkansas last week, over 400 yards passing against Mississippi State. So I think Alabama just continues to keep it balanced. Let Brian go. Let Roydell Williams get into the game now that Jace McClellan's going to be hurt. Maybe work Trey Sanders in, but also continue to press it downfield with both tight ends, Billingsley and Latu. Mechie and Jamison Williams, to me, have emerged also and continue to grow in their down the field ability. So just connecting on those down the field passes, creating more explosive plays. But we've just been so efficient, so methodical so far this year. So that's what Bryce has got to keep it going. It's just remaining cool, calm, and collected like he has been all year long.
JP, last week we talked about Coach Saban being 23-0 against his former assistants, and after the win against Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, Coach Saban is now an amazing 24-0 against former assistants. He now has the chance to make it 25-0 this weekend.
Yeah, it's still just even tough to think about that streak that he's been able to do, but just maintaining the discipline in the process, keeping his players involved. We got some injuries dealing with, especially running back coming back, so a lot of these guys to be focused, and a road trip's always tough. We know we're going to a really loud place in College Station. So we got to get ready when we get down there. It's going to be a late game, so a little later start than we're used to. So a lot of things with A&M trying to bounce back. So we know we got the target on our back. We just got to go out and perform.
Thank you again for the insight, JP. I'm looking forward to another good one this weekend in College Station.
Roll Tide. Looking forward to it.
Roll Tide kickoff at Kyle Field between number 1 Alabama and Texas A&M is set for 7 p.m. It's the nightcap of a doubleheader on CBS. You can listen to John Parker Wilson, Eli Gold, Chris Stewart, Roger Hoover, and the rest of the Crimson Tide Sports Network crew online and on the radio beginning at 4 o'clock. Reporting from the Crimson Tide Production Studio inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, I'm Christopher England with Tide TV.